So today we'll see how to create CentOS 7 and 8 VMs, virtual machines. But first we'll need to download the proper ISO file. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll just go through the motions of it. In the interest of time, I actually downloaded both of the files. They look like here. They are here. Let's look at the size, just out of curiosity. So the 7 should be about 4.3 gigs, and the version 8 is about 8.6 gigs. Okay, so that is the correct size. But let's go back and locate the ISO file, the proper ISO file. So we'd have to go to download and choose the version. So this is by default version 8 is highlighted. So let's go ahead and find the ISO file. Most likely you are using the x86 platform. So let's go ahead and click on that. So what you're presented here is a list of mirrors. So you can click any of these actually, and there it is. DVD1 is the correct file, and you can see the size here. We can go to another mirror. Looks about the same. Okay, visually a bit different, but same idea. You can see the same exact file for version 8. So you can download from any of these. Right, so that's version 8. So I'm going to go back to the main page and look at version 7. Okay, same idea. Go to x86 and one of these mirrors, and you can see so for version 7, this is the file we want to download, right? The one that says DVD in it, and that size is about 4.6 gig. Okay, if you go back and let's look at another mirror, 4.3 gig. So in the past, for version 7, there used to be a very small live distribution of CentOS 7. They have removed it. As such, we have to now download the larger 4.3 gig DVD version, which is fine. So now we know where to find those files, and like I said, in the interest of time, I went ahead and already downloaded these. So let's go ahead and start creating our VMs with GUI. Okay, so I just started my VirtualBox manager. The usual, let's go through the motions of it. Start with new. Let's call it CentOS 7 VM. Okay. So by default, it does recognize it as a Red Hat distribution, which is fine. We don't have to change anything here. So the first thing, the first one I'll create is the CentOS 7 VM. Okay. So let's go ahead and do that. Define the properties. 4 gigs of RAM should be sufficient. Next. Next, go with the default options. Next. So this is the disk capacity. I like to give it a minimum of 60, but then again, this is all virtual, right? Great. So what I need to do now is actually point the optical drive to the actual ISO file that I had downloaded. So let's go ahead and do that. It's not here, it's on my Z drive. Okay, version 7. Okay, so it is now pointing to the CentOS 7 ISO file. I see all the other properties. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this VM and installation process. And once that starts, we'll continue to work on this CentOS 8. Let me bring it up here. Oops. so I'm going to go with the first option, install CentOS. Let's make this a bit bigger. Okay, so while that's happening, let's build the other VM, CentOS 8 VM. Same idea. Okay, once again, I have to choose the proper ISO file. So this time around, it'll be version 8, CentOS 8. Open. Okay, everything looks to be in order. So let's start this one also. Let's bring it here. Okay, so they're all here. Let's continue the installation. Okay, so the usual questions about language, a series of questions. Okay, so this part is important, especially if you want a GUI, right? So where it says software selection, we need to click here, right? We need to select an environment to the GUI or GNOME desktop. Okay, so I'll just choose that, highlight that section, GNOME desktop, and say done. Either option will be fine, something with a GUI or GNOME desktop, right? Let's have some applications at a minimum. How about that? Done. Okay, so it'll take it'll do some checking, and then okay, we need to clear that. Just hit done. Okay, now we're ready. Begin installation. So let's create the user and password. Just take me a second. Okay, so it'll continue to be installed in the background. It should be, I believe that's pretty much it as far as the installation is concerned. So let's check version 8, CentOS 8. Okay, slightly different, but so as you can see, this already has server with GUI selected. So we do not need to do anything really additional other than creating the root password and just checking the partition and clicking the partition and clicking done. And let's go ahead and create the root user account. Saying it done and begin installation. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. As long as you choose one of the desktop option or a GUI option, you should end up with a GUI environment. It's useful for those that are new to Linux. So let's give it a few minutes, and to finish up. Meanwhile, so while that's happening, CentOS is actually undergoing some changes, and as a result of that, they actually removed the smaller installation file that used to allow you to run CentOS live. So this is nearly done. Now Red Hat just started offering the enterprise version for developers. It is free of cost. So that's the internal change that's taking place. So eventually these will be discontinued. They'll have something called CentOS Stream, as well as the no-cost Red Hat license. So this is intended for development. So those are changes that are happening as we speak. Okay, so let's go back and check the status. Okay, so let's go ahead and reboot after the installation is done. This is the final step. You have to agree to the licensing term. Finish configuration. Type in my password. And there it is. Okay, so let's go back to 8. Agree to the terms. Done. And there it is. This is version 8. Version 7.